Okay, so I'm Frances Goodall. I'm a wellbeing coach, an author and speaker, and the co-founder of the Women's Wellness Circle. And I'm really excited today to introduce you to Dr. Allegra Hart. Dr. Allegra is a naturopathic physician, speaker, author of Nourishing Space Within, Essentials of Self-Care, and the founder of Naturae Naturopathic Clinic. And Dr. Allegra's Apothecary.
There it is.
She specializes in helping you to cultivate natural self-care, rebuild your health from the inside out by empowering you with more energy, better digestion, better moods, tools to defeat chronic disease, and greater flexibility mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you can learn more about building your health at naturaeclinic.com. And I'll let you spell that out later. Okay, so Allegra, what inspired you to become a naturopathic doctor?
Well, I found myself falling in love with herbs and all of the beauty that is around us. And I had a lot of health issues in my teen years, a lot of chronic pain, a lot of depression and anxiety. And I found that the conventional medical world, their approach was, here, take this pill to suppress this. That's all we've got. Go ahead and move on. And that was incredibly frustrating. And so I dove into all of these herbal remedies and natural ways to treat, to try and begin to manage some of the chaos that was going on inside for so long. And I found that with natural medicine, and I found a way to be able to heal from the chronic disease that I had, endometriosis, and to reset my brain so that I was no longer struggling with depression and anxiety. And I found that the momentum that I made in the period, in about the 5 years before I decided to actually go to naturopathic school, was more than I could have hoped for. And the idea of helping others not be in pain, helping others find their way to care for themselves, to heal, and have it actually be sustainable, really made me excited about being part of creating a healthier world. And so that's why I ended up going to become a physician, is because I knew so many people needed help and were confused at what was actually going to be the best benefit for them.
That makes a lot of sense, and a lot of what you say sounds very familiar from my own journey from healing chronic fatigue and then going into sort of alternative health care in different ways to you, but amazing what you've done with your life. So maybe you could share a little bit more around your healing story from chronic illness, from the depression, when you were at your worst, and what it was that really helped you to heal, and how that led you to being a naturopath specifically. And
okay. Yeah. So as a teenager, I had really, really bad cramps. And like many women, I assumed it was just being a girl. And so I just had to suck it up and deal with it and take a bunch of painkillers to make that work. And later on, it got so bad, like 10 out of 10 pain, not being able to go to work, having the pain come up randomly. So it wasn't just with my cycle, it was throughout my cycle. And finally, at the age of 19, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And I was told, here, take this birth control pill, and you will take this for the rest of your life until you get pregnant. Otherwise, this will just keep coming back. And I thought, well, I'm in massive pain, so I'm going to take that as an option, because I wasn't shown any other options. And I started trying to look at the underlying part, because along with this massive physical pain, I was also having panic attacks. And the idea of having my period gave me a panic attack, because I didn't know how bad it was going to get. And, as you ladies know, with chronic disease, it's not always a regular, consistent thing, and the flares can be debilitating. And so when I was trying to create space for myself in order to manage some of this pain, I realized I needed to really deal with the deeper levels of my health. And it wasn't just hey, plug in this beautiful hormone balancing herb and you're good. It was, hey, you got to look at the deeper layers and the chaos and the pain and the trauma that had happened in my youth. And I needed to look at that. And I realized that if I didn't, I was going to go through the same cycle in a different way again and again. And so I made a conscious effort to really sit with the fear that came up around all of this pain and this anxiety, and to interact with it in a different way, and to have it be a friend of mine rather than something that was trying to bring me down. And that was a huge transition in the way that I interacted with the tools that I was using to heal. And it really helped me understand that I had a lot more tools inside me, and we all do, this beautiful capacity to heal at a very deep level if we allow ourselves to go into those deeper levels, really nourish ourselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what were the kind of tools that helped you really heal at a deeper level and heal trauma and that sort of thing, would you say?
So for me, meditation was very, very important, but also things like craniosacral and Bowen work, and really understanding what was going on and not viewing my emotions as a repercussion or as the end all be all, but just that was my emotion. That was something that showed me what's going on at a deeper level, rather than letting it completely rule my life. And then other things like herbs, and one of my favorite ones is tilia, which is linden tree blossom, and things like castor oil packs and dry skin brushing, and honoring my sleep and honoring my downtime and not viewing it as a liability. Those were some of the key things that became really helpful for me on this process.
That makes sense. That's great. And maybe you can share a little bit with us about the history of naturopathy and what it involves, and specifically how it helps people to heal chronic illness.
Absolutely. So there are some tenets to the naturopathic world, and this is the baseline that everything should be coming from in treatments that are naturopathic. And it's really, the first one is first, do no harm. So use remedies, use treatments that don't have horrific side effects, and make sure that they are nourishing on as many levels as possible. So the first step is make sure that your treatments aren't going to be damaging someone or yourself in a longer period of time. The next one is to identify and treat the cause. You know, instead of throwing a bunch of things on there, oh, this is a good protocol for, fatigue or anxiety. It was like, hey, let's actually look at what's going on underneath that. Why is this coming up? Because otherwise we're treating a symptom, and that's not actually letting us get to those deeper levels so that we can really heal and change our lives and rewire our brains so that we are no longer stuck in those old habits.
So how do we treat the cause of naturopathy? The actual underlying roots.
Well, it's looking at what were the initiators of these illnesses. And some of them are completely physical, and some of them are a combination of physical and emotional triggers. Some of them are a combination of physical, emotional, and how we were raised, those habits that were just built into our family life as we grew up. So it's exploring, and I do that exploration to help people understand what their root causes are through the interview process. And I ask tons of questions, and people are like, wait, why are you asking me this question? Because when I understand that bigger picture, then I'm able to help people see where those puzzle pieces are that line them up to have this illness, to have this manifest. And if we can take our time to look at those core issues instead of wasting our time just dealing with the symptoms, that is where real change happens.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds even more holistic than I think I previously thought naturopathy was. I thought that was maybe more about sort of supplements and lifestyle and that sort of thing, but it sounds like it's much deeper than that, and almost quite therapeutic, the kind of work you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then the next tenet is to treat the whole person. Because you cannot systemize a person and say, oh, well, it's just a neurotransmitter issue that you're not absorbing or using them properly or making them properly. It's like, okay, why? Let's look at the whole thing, because it is not just a neurotransmitter issue.
No.
It is not just a digestive issue. What is going on? So that we can look at the whole body rather than just getting compartmentalized and really missing the point. And the naturopathic tenets also trust that the body has this natural innate ability to heal. And so when we understand that our body is built to heal, then we can let go of the delusion that we are smarter than our brain and our physiology. You know, it's all of this, the physiology is working because we set it that way. And if we have been triggered or genetically had something set up so that we couldn't fully work, we need to find a way to work around that and to balance with that. And so we're looking at this knowledge that the body has the innate ability to heal, which is why Bowen work and craniosacral is so helpful, because it's helping the body unwind in the way that works for it at this time, rather than my assumption as a practitioner on what's going to work for you.
That makes sense. Great. I like it. I like the way you talk about it as well. So over the years, have you worked much with people with conditions like chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia? Because a lot of the women that come to the Women's Wellness Circle, a lot of the people I work with, women and men that I work with, they have those kind of conditions. So it'd be great if you could speak more to those conditions specifically.
Yeah, those are definitely things that I treat frequently. And the bigger picture I see with those illnesses is there's a tremendous amount of emotional pain that has been aggravated by the physical pain of that. And they feed each other. And so we need to be really mindful of how we're approaching our wellness when we have a chronic disease like that. We need to be mindful of if we're trying to be healthier because we're scared of the illness, or if we're trying to be healthier because we want to cultivate more health and we're doing it as a gift for ourselves. There's a specific woman that I work with. We do neurofeedback along with supplements and dietary shifts that really support her. And one of the huge shifts that had to come in place for her was, can you go through this healing process and be gentle with yourself? Rather than, why am I not better? How come this hasn't changed faster? To be able to listen to those deeper levels was the key that was needed to help her to begin to transition away from framing herself as a victim, framing herself as someone who was at the whim of this disease. So she had to create that ability to identify herself outside of that diagnosis.
That's a key, isn't it? I remember when I had chronic fatigue syndrome and I was told by someone, you need to let go of that identity in the end in order to heal, sort of stop even thinking about myself as being someone who had that condition. And that was part of.
How did you feel when they told you that?
I was annoyed, but
exactly.
But it also felt like it woke up another possibility of maybe I could let go of that health label. And I work with someone called Ashok Gupta, who's got a recovery program about retraining the brain back to health. And he talks about thinking of it as a sort of adrenaline cycle rather than necessarily a disease, a specific disease with these kind of conditions. But yeah, that it's a cycle in the nervous system that you can stop and that you've got some control over. Yeah. Great. So, and so anything else you want to say about that, or anything else coming to you that you'd like to share with now?
Well, there are two other tenets of naturopathic medicine that I definitely want to cover.
Yeah.
The next one is that the doctor is a teacher. The very origin of the word docere is teacher, and that's doctor. And the naturopathic world is very aware of the fact that we need to educate our patients on why and how to best care for themselves, rather than be this dogma where they come in and I tell them what to do and then send them out the door. So helping them understand the process is part of the naturopathic medicine base to be able to support healing at a deeper level. And then the next one is prevention is cure. You know, to really be proactive about your health and to be open to really not just letting your system, your mind, your emotions, your body dilapidate before you react and think, hey, you know, I should probably do something about my health. Maybe I want more. So those are the last two that are really important, that, you know, the doctor is there to teach and educate and empower, and the core is prevention. The more we can prevent deeper issues showing up, the sooner we're able to heal, the less likely those things are going to amplify into permanent chronic diseases rather than transient chronic diseases.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. I've got a couple of questions from a woman that couldn't make it today, and she says, I eat a very good, balanced and nutritious diet and take supplements that are whole food supplements, but my body struggles to absorb the nutrients from my food. My question is, what is your advice for optimizing nutrient absorption in the body?
Great question. And that's actually a question I get a lot, is I feel like I'm eating a really good diet and yet I'm not able to use my nutrients or absorb them or apply them the way that I need to. Whenever somebody comes into my office and says that, I'm always looking at, what do you mean by a healthy diet? There are so many people who have a framework of what they think a healthy diet is that is not actually healthy for them. I firmly believe that there is not a one-size-fits-all diet. Yes, we should all be eating real food, whole food, and less processed food, of course. But there are some things that might be perfectly healthy for one person that are not for another, and it pushes inflammation. And whenever our gut is inflamed, it makes it harder for us to absorb our nutrients and harder for us to use them. Plus, it's not just that meal that becomes harder to absorb and use, it's everything you eat, because the more inflamed the gut is, the less likely it's able to actually function the way it's supposed to and absorb those nutrients. So when I'm looking at that, I look at food intolerances. They are the way that I've been able to identify the key issues with food that are pushing inflammation. And so with a food intolerance, it's basically something that you just genetically don't have the enzymes intact enough to break down these foods. And so that helps me to create a framework of what is an ideal diet for them. And then we create a plan around that. But the basics, I wrote Nourishing Space Within, Essentials of Self-Care, and there's an entire chapter in there on healthy eating and food preparation, because sometimes we just need to tweak the way we're preparing our food, and that gives us more nutrients. So that can be a really great option there. And this is available on Amazon.com and can be shipped to the UK as well.
Right.
And so when we're looking at that, then the next thing is, so you remove your food intolerances, and then you need to heal those gut barriers. That's where I love castor oil packs. So castor oil is from a bean, and it is an oil that you drizzle over a felted fabric cloth and make sure that's got enough in there, but just enough so if you were to touch that oily cloth to a piece of wood, it would leave the slightest mark. Not drippy and not messy. And again, directions for that are in Nourishing Space Within. And this helps to reduce inflammation in the gut where it's applied, but also get the lymphatic fluid moving throughout the whole body, so you can get your body more nutrients, but also get waste out. Whenever we are not eliminating our waste properly, it makes it really hard for us to absorb our nutrients, because we got too much going on in that area and we've got too much baggage to be able to bring anything else in. Okay. So those are definitely the core there. And if people don't have access to me or don't want to do a food intolerance evaluation, I want to share a little trick that can be really helpful. This helps you understand if you're sensitive. So there's food intolerances, there's sensitivities, and many types of sensitivity reactions. And then there's allergies. They're all different types of reactions. But when you check your heart rate before and after a meal, you can tell if something in that meal was something that you're sensitive to. So when you sit down for your meal, and really this has to be a meal where you can actually relax and sit down and not be, taking a bite and running up and doing something and coming back and taking a bite. That's not going to work because you're then moving in other ways. So you sit down for your meal, you take your pulse. I always like to do it on my wrist here along the thumb line. The radial pulse is going to be the easiest. You can also do it on your neck. And you write that down. Enjoy your meal. Take your pulse again. And if your pulse has raised more than 6 points, it's likely that you are sensitive in some way to something that you just consumed. And so you can kind of get a general idea of what are the meals that might be creating some problems for you. And then from there, you can hone down what are the foods that create that reaction in the nervous system that elevate the heart rate.
That's a
It's a
pretty
simple thing you
helpful
can do at
way of
home.
testing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but if people were to work with you to find out what their intolerances are, what sort of process do you take people through?
So the food intolerance evaluation is a finger stick. So we just do a quick little finger stick and run that through. And it's a great way to know if there's any single food intolerances or combinations of foods as well that could be creating a problem. Because sometimes it's not just one food on its own. It's two foods when they're eaten together in the same time. And then they push inflammation, which then creates that snowball of reducing our ability to absorb our nutrients and reducing our ability to release waste as well. And whenever our gut's inflamed, it's going to produce inflammation throughout the whole body. And so whenever food is there, it is always the core issue that we need to address first so that we can create more space to be able to liberate energy to go towards healing elsewhere as well.
I'm just going to ask you a little personal question while you're here. Just make me think, I often get sort of puffy eyes after I've eaten cheese. Would you say that's a sign that my body's not enjoying digesting cheese?
I would say that is a reaction that your lymphatic system is not fully able to process everything.
Yeah.
And for some people, cheese makes them hold a little bit more water. And I would say that lymphatic system is getting overwhelmed and then your eyes get puffy. That would most likely be there.
Makes sense.
Play around with the checking your heart rate before and after cheese next time and see what shows up.
Okay, thank you. And so a second question is about advice about dental health.
Okay.
So I have good oral hygiene, but my issues is that my teeth do not seem to take in or receive the nutrition from my body and the food I eat. My teeth are experiencing issues. What advice do you have for creating healthy teeth, healthy cavities, and what can be done internally to halt the process of decay and to help support healthy teeth?
Great question. Okay, so again, I'm going to always repeat this. Making sure that a diet is optimal for you is one of the starting points. But also there are many things that we do that stop our teeth's ability to remineralize. And one of those things is toothpaste. So if your toothpaste has anything like glycerin or one of those super lathery sorts of toothpaste, that's going to have things in there that coat your teeth that make it harder for your enamel to re-harden.
Wow.
So even the natural food world, their toothpastes are still glycerin based. And so they can reduce our ability to remineralize. So there are really simple things that you can do. And I bet you've got one of them in your cabinet in your kitchen, and that is baking soda. So just using baking soda to brush your teeth, sure, it's not the best tasting thing, but it's not going to break down your enamel's ability to reset itself. And we need to do this enamel resetting on a regular basis. It's actually after each meal. That's a really helpful thing there. And so you basically take your toothbrush, get it wet, and dip it into a little container of baking soda, and that holds what you need, and you brush, and then floss, and you should be ready to go. There are also things like diatomaceous earth. If it's something for an internal use option, that would be a good option.
So you can take that as a supplement to help your teeth, because I know that can be used for stopping for parasites as well, but you can use it for your teeth as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the first step into making sure we're creating some space. The next thing would be exploring something like oil pulling. So taking a little bit of coconut, olive, or sesame oil into your mouth, like 1 teaspoon or so, and swishing it around for about 20 minutes. You're basically trying to emulsify it. You're wanting it to look like a mayonnaise before you spit it out into the garbage. And that's a way to bind things. But if the nutrients in your teeth are not able to maintain themselves, it's because they're being robbed from something else that needs more nutrients. So our bones and our teeth and our hair are our nutrient stores for backup. And when we start robbing those, it's because we don't have those nutrients available to us nutritionally. So I would say there's a diet rehaul that has to happen there. And maybe the supplements aren't the best fit, even though they might be a really good form. Maybe that form is just not good for that person.
Okay. Thank you. And I want to go back to the teeth for a moment in terms of the brushing. So are you saying that you suggest people just use baking soda rather than toothpaste at all?
Right.
Or, okay, wow, interesting.
Yeah, okay. It's because of the glycerin. It stops the tooth's ability to remineralize, and most of even the natural have it. It's not a plus.
Shame. Yeah.
Right?
That's a shame. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and should you need a little flavor in your baking soda, you can always add a couple drops of like cinnamon or mint essential oil to it to give it a little bit of something. But really, it's just an adjustment, and you get used to it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So is there anything else you would like to share today?
That's kind of the key. You know, if we can take this space to be able to really listen to ourselves and listen to the pain that we're experiencing and listen to the frustration. And if we sit down next to that pain, next to that fear, like it's an old friend, maybe not our best old friend, maybe not our, great to see you old friend, but someone that we know and have shared experiences with. And if we can just listen to that fear, listen to that pain in a different way, it changes the way that interacts in our body. Sure. And once your body and your mind knows that you are not running anymore, it all begins to change. It all begins to hold itself differently in your body so that you can make better choices and continue moving towards healing ourselves at a really deep level. And so really it's the art of listening, the art of cultivating that space within ourselves.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. So do you work by Skype as well, or like online as well, or do you mainly work just face-to-face where you live? Or?
Yes, I do have a secure video chat option as well. It's not Skype, but it is a similar option. Yeah. So yes, that is definitely an option. And I work with many people all over, and it's really beautiful to hear the transformations that happen just with the food intolerance evaluation of people who are like, oh my gosh, I thought this was the healthiest food for me. I eat that 3 times a day. I'm like, oh, well, let's make that change. And that was all they needed. You know, that's always very, very rewarding when it's just one little tweak and they're like, oh my gosh.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Right. And do you want to just let people know how they can get in touch with you as well? And
yeah, definitely. So the best way is to email me at info@naturaeclinic.com. That's NATURAECLINIC.com. And then I can get back to you if you have any questions about working with me or things that we've talked about. I'd be happy to discuss them with you. And, you know, one of the things that I do like to share is I don't work with my patients in a way that most people are used to. So most people don't get better after one session, after one meeting with me. And what I found is by creating programs where I'm meeting people consistently for a set period of time, we're able to make a lot more transformation in their life and the ability to create a lot more space and to teach them how to reset their life so they can create that foundation and then move forward into the next chapters of their life. And so those programs are all personalized. I don't plug people into a protocol because, again, everything is a little bit different, and I want to be able to meet everyone I work with where they're at and be able to help them in those transitions so they can be the best possible them. So that we can be the change we want to be in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me today, Allegra.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate it.